Very good evening to one and all.
Good evening to you.
Thank you, sir. So, very good evening to all who are present here. My name is Apurva Mishra. I am here from Extramarks Education, your facilitator for this particular session. It's my pleasure and honor to welcome all of you to our webinar series. Extramarks Elevate is a thought leadership series on education and technology aimed to serve as a platform for educationists, academicians, technocrats, young achievers, and other stakeholders to share their experience and views on development and trends in the field of education and technology. Being a leading edtech brand, we at Extramarks are very proud of our journey of the last 15 years and thankful to our 15,000 plus global schools without whom our journey would not have been this fulfilling at all. Extramarks has revolutionized the way education is perceived and delivered by custom creating learning solutions for the 21st century learners through state of the art technology and empowering teachers with efficient pedagogical methodologies. For today's Elevate, we'll be talking about the topic building a STEM ecosystem within schools, preparing students for future professions. Now, as we navigate through the dynamic landscape of education, it is utmost important to equip our students with the skills and knowledge that needed to thrive in the ever evolving world of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Today, we'll be exploring strategies to cultivate a robust STEM ecosystem within schools, fostering a passion for innovation and preparing our students for the professions of the future. We have the privilege of being joined by a panel of distinguished experts, each with their own unique perspective. Joining us first, we have Mr. S. Station Sir, Vice Principal, Atomic Energy Central School, Kalpakkam, Tamil Nadu. An accomplished educationist, he completed his MSc Physics in 1989 and has been dedicated to teaching since joining Sainik School, Rewa in 94. With a passion for science, he excels in physics education, achieving 100% results for 2 consecutive years. His relentless efforts garnered awards, including the Vikram Sarabhai Trophy and Raja Ramana Trophy. His contribution extends beyond academics, fostering leadership and social awareness. We welcome you, sir, to our webinar series.
Thank you.
Joining us, we have Mr. Venkat Fanikaran, sir, Chief Academic Officer, Extramarks Education, Noida. He's a leading academic coach for 20 years, alumni of IIT Delhi. Venkat sir is an accomplished educator with a career spanning across India, starting from Delhi, Kota as a physics faculty. He has traveled extensively across India to motivate students and manage institutions. He has been a leader in the early stages of EdTech, contributing to the development of e-learning and online education that suits the need of the students. We welcome you, sir, to webinar series. Now, we have joining us our Director of Extramarks Education, Poonam Singh Jamwal ma'am, who has always believed in inclusive, intuitive, and holistic tech-enabled learning solutions. We have been really grateful to have with us at every path with Extramarks since 2007 at every step. We welcome you, ma'am, to the webinar today.
Thank you, Apurva.
Moving further, now, the last couple of years, we have seen a major reform going on with the new ideas being implemented, and a lot of ideas came into reality in the education industry. To dive into the discussion, I like to start with a question to Venkat sir, since he has been, as per the guiding light or academic coach for 20 years. Venkat sir, why is STEM education is important in today's educational landscape, sir?
Thanks, Apurva, for raising this question. I think STEM has always been important, but it's only gaining more and more importance in the current scenario. To answer your question, I would like to put little more basic question, where what is the real purpose of schooling or school education? So if you look at it, we are actually trying to make the children ready for the future, such that they are employable, and not only employable, but they are ready to face the changes that are happening in the world. So if you look at the industrial revolutions that happened, so we are into the fourth industrial revolution, and every industrial revolution lasted for about 100-150 years, where starting from the first one, where steam engines, and then after that electricity, of course in between the IC engines were also there, and then slowly transformed into nuclear, and then now we are into the internet, artificial intelligence era. So the current demands of the world is such that whatever we are studying is not going to remain the same when we go and start working in any organization in the future. So change is something that's happening steadily. So we need to prepare the students like a lifelong learners. They should be able to become very resilient and adopt the changes. So in short, I would say that the 21st century skills need to be ensured while we are, taking students through the education system. So STEM is the best way to adapt and also build problem solving skills into the children, the 4 C's, which are the most important aspects in the 21st century skills, that is collaboration, communication, creativity, and critical thinking. So these are some things that come only by cultivating these qualities in the students through STEM education. They cannot be cultivated overnight. So it's a gradual process. So we need to give enough exposure to the students. So the ultimate focus, to summarize, about STEM education is STEM induces or identifies the interest, core interest in different students. So we should be able to give exposure to all the students to various aspects of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and see their propensities and potential in these fields, and then you fan them so that they develop more interest and evolve in the direction. So therefore STEM becomes very important to make the children ready for industrial revolution 4.0 and even beyond.
True, true. To a great extent, what happens is somewhere a focus towards sciences comes post class 9, and you first identify his career in engineering before the child is moved to STEM education. While I very strongly feel STEM education, the way Venkat said, enables you to be a problem solver, but because it creates the pathways in mind of logical thinking, that what are the evidences in hand, and what are the resources in hand, and how best you apply those resources to come to a particular outcome. There is a logical hierarchy in STEM thinking, the way I feel. So whether you're a humanities student, or you're a musician or whatever, you should be able to have a logical frame of mind, because their world is changing by a minute. And if we do not train our children for logical thinking, we are not preparing them for life. The true life skill is not knowing computers, That's very basic, inane way of looking at 21st century um, uh, skill, because that is more like we, the old timers, will say, okay, our 21st century skill is to know computers. It is not that. It is the logical thinking of whatever resources that you have to be able to solve a problem. So therefore, there is a convergence today of, there's no maths and science parallels. They are convergence, because every humanity has to be backed by the logic of science, and every scientific subject has to be backed with the human problem that scientist is trying to solve. And all that requires an anchoring of STEM learning or thinking from grade 5 itself. The way Venkat said, then finally FAN, what are the specialization and paths they have to take? But this is the core base knowledge that we have to develop in the children.
Right.
So, very rightly mentioned, ma'am. We also have one of the panelists who have joined us. We have Santushti Thapa, ma'am, with us. We welcome you, ma'am, to our webinar series. Santushti, ma'am, can you hear me? Okay. So, very rightly mentioned, I like to go back to the conversation which Poonam ma'am and Venkat sir were going through. So, they mentioned that when we talk about students now, they feel that if I am very comfortable with the technology, I am a student who knows all. But one or the other way, we feel lag behind over here, that critical thinking, or how do I apply my knowledge, what has been taught to me, that's the real game changer for all these students of how do I make it happen. Which brings me to the question to Session sir. Sir, as a school principal, as a director, or as a school owner also, how do we ensure that STEM subject? Now, I will also like you to deep little, delve into the conversation that STEM subjects are seamlessly very integrated into the curriculum what we are learning. Now, the major shift happens when we go to the higher class. So, I will request you to please share some insights over it, sir.
Yes, actually, as already told and explained by both of them, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now, this has to be how it can be integrated. See, already we have a curriculum in which the students are learning about mathematics and science. Now, we have to be a little bit unique and what do you call uh, little bit kind of scientific thinking, little bit thinking we should be, and adjust our curriculum so that engineering and technology also comes into it. Now, for example, when you are teaching physics, when you want to know about the strength of a wire, how much weight it can handle, then you study about tensile strength. The same way you build a bridge, then you say what are the materials should be there and what should be the tensile strength of the bridge, how much vehicles it should be able to withstand. So when you are going to talk about physics, tensile strength, then if you are going to engineering, we have to say something about engineering, about this tensile strength. It tells you about how the wire, how in the case of a wire takes a weight. The same way in real life, how a building, how much if it will withhold, how much, whether it will be quake resistant, whether it will be how much weight it will withstand, how many cars or how many vehicles can go in a minute, all these things. When you talk about those things and apply numericals or do or teach those principles, then it becomes engineering. Then you come to technology. When you say science is only a principle, technology is you apply that principles to make a new element or a new innovation by which you can make the life of the human beings comfortable. For example, when the James Watt saw his mother at that time when cooking, that whistle was there, and that because of the steam, that plate was thrown away. So what did James Watt did? How it came? Then he applied those principles to make a steam engine. So when you talk about steam, when you are seeing in your own kitchen, it is science. But James Watt applied it and he made a steam engine. It became technology. Similarly, you can think about vacuum. You can talk about vacuum. But when you are seeing a flask, thermos flask, you can see what is there inside, because without vacuum the flask cannot keep it at a particular coffee or tea or water in a particular temperature for a long time. So this is technology. So with a little bit of adjustments or with a little bit of thinking, whatever we are teaching, which is already there in the curriculum, that can be taught a little bit beyond the book or beyond the bookish knowledge, so that it will go into what you call engineering as well as technology. So
So,
like that,
sir,
you have many examples like that. I just gave one example,
no,
the
no,
case of
very
James
good
Watt.
example, sir. So the question here is, rather than introducing engineering subject in the middle school, you bring that hierarchy of thinking to that end of technology, of any concept that is taught. So that means embedding the STEM way of thinking into the given curriculum. That is what you're saying. Rather than
Yes,
making a parallel subject within the
yes,
same physics subject, you can take it all the way to its actual implementation and application of a concept. That's what
yes,
you're saying,
yes,
right?
yes, yes,
And that means somewhere we have to train a teacher to that way of pedagogy. We have to embed it in the pedagogy itself.
Right.
That becomes a very important element of
that so
STEM.
that when you involve in the nowadays the NCRT book, if you see, it has
Hmm.
got lot of activities.
Hmm.
So when it says a particular principle is taught, then immediately that principle is taught, and immediately below that one activity is given. So when that activity is uh, actually done in the lab or in the class by the teacher, and when the students, and then after doing the activity, you ask the students to do themselves, then this will integrate. In a way, you are seamlessly integrating all this into the pedagogy of the school curriculum.
Hmm.
That's what I think that will be the best way of doing things, so that children will learn, not only learn science, but also know how to apply that particular scientific principle into technology, that is, into that activity, doing that activity.
Thank you very much, Session sir, for your insight sharing about this particular question. We have Sunita Singh ma'am who have joined us for this webinar. She is the principal at GD Goenka School, Faridabad. An illustrious experience of 25 years in the education sector. She has worked in premier institutions such as Atomic Energy School, Naroda, St. John's Convent School, Faridabad, Manav Rachna International School, Faridabad, and Delhi Scholar International School, Faridabad again. She believes nothing is permanent except change. So she keeps on creating multifarious opportunities for the holistic development of students who are the future of this world. We welcome you, Sunita ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a vibrant introduction and warm welcome. Thank you so much. And good evening to all the panelists here. I'm sorry, there were some network issues, so I got late. And Session sir, I have a special connection with Atomic Energy Central School. So I was very excited when I saw your name as on the panel, especially seeing Atomic Energy Central School, because I have studied from grade 1 to 12 in Atomic Energy Central School, Narora. Then I worked in that same school for 1.5 years. So it's a different culture, very, very beautiful experience. I would say I have learned everything from that school. And we really, without even saying, provide holistic education to the students, and the kind of facilities Atomic Energy Central schools are providing, I think many schools and people do not know. So already we have very high-tech laboratories and everything. So I enjoyed my schooling very much. Nice meeting to you, sir.
Nice
So
meeting
nice.
you, madam. Thank you very much for the very good opinion that you have given to our school. Nice. Nice to listen to that, and nice to listen to my old student and present principal. Thank you.
Yes.
Not my old student, the school's old student.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Yes. Yes, sir.
So, session. So
Yes,
when
ma'am.
we were, yeah, ma'am, please. So when we were talking about that, how it can be inculcated into the learning journey and making them think not as an additional, but what they're learning as a part of their curriculum since NCRT has already started. Now, how as school, this is for Poonam ma'am, ma'am, how as school can collaborate with the industries or with the organizations to bridge the gap between the classroom learning and the real world application of STEM knowledge that we have?
Uh, it's a slightly offbeat answer, not a technical answer you're going to get. I really feel that somewhere Indian schools have to encourage children to be independent learners at a very early stage. Somewhere we spoon feed them so much that they do not become problem solvers in basic simple things, let alone forming thinking pathways to be problem solvers. So our first step to STEM education should be that somewhere from class 5 onwards, we should encourage them to gather the theoretical knowledge on their own. And for the engineering and technology part, they should come to their mentors. I hope you're understanding that at a conceptual level, a lot of things can be self-learned. It needn't be taught. So once they self-learn, they'll only pick up the parts they did not understand, and will come to their mentors. The first pathway to any problem solver is that how um, self-sufficient I am. If given the resources I have, your first set of resources is curriculum content. So when we go to a new class, we get curriculum content. The teacher should step back and let them understand that curriculum content on their own. And they should come back to the teacher with only the difficult part of that conceptual understanding. And the teacher, when she's explaining that concept, should use real time examples. So without telling them, she's moving to the technology part of it, or the application part
Relating to
of
those
it.
examples.
Yeah, with the example, she anyway creates the next pathway
True.
of saying how this understanding of this concept will help you solve a human problem.
Hmm.
Right. So she introduces STEM very seamlessly because she spends more time into the application part of it rather than the conceptual part of it. And then he learns from class 5th onwards. I have to think and I have to find my own understanding before I go to my mentor.
True.
And if we manage to introduce that, we will, in true sense, apply what we all talk about STEM education. Somewhere in our head, STEM education is the child has to become engineer. So let's put him into these STEM subjects. While I feel 100% students have to develop STEM way of thinking.
So I was coming
Right.
to, as you
So
rightly
that
mentioned,
independent learning, how the industry collaborates is, it has found smart way of embedding the pedagogical practices to conceptual understanding, whether it is through modules, animations, etc. So all that the child in his own time, pace, his type will understand the concept. And then he can be challenged with case studies. And that is where, as you know, Extramarks or any other person who's providing solutions can equip the school to be able to make a child independent learner. And then the journey of STEM application starts with the school and the teacher, is how I think we should collaborate the best.
True. So, ma'am, since you mentioned about that, when the student decides that now I want to do engineering or I want to bifurcate my vision of what I'm going to justify my domain further, I believe that's where parents also comes into the picture, right? Because their support, school is supporting, we are providing them a freedom to think that, okay, you go back, you explore, then you come. So, how, as parents, this question I like to pose to Sunita, ma'am. So, ma'am, how, as parents, since ma'am was talking about that, should start from the early years, not the later part, because foundational is building that time when they are thinking, going back home, exploring. So, what role, ma'am, parents are playing, or as once they go back home, what is the environment they should be proposed to with so that we can push or we can get them into the habit of preparing from the early years? Sunita, ma'am? Yeah.
Yes. So, ma'am, I would just I'll just close my door one because we have very important function event tomorrow. So the entire school is busy. And that just give me a second.
Sure, ma'am.
I also feel that sometimes, you know, we follow whatever practices have happened, right? And suppose everybody is, let's take senior students. Everybody is running to quota because there is a word of mouth, there is a IIT JEE market, so let's converge there. But since COVID, world has absolutely changed. You don't have to go to quota. Quotas come to your doorstep. It has come into your room through technology. And then perhaps with greater commitment and visibility and transparency. Today, when you send your child off to quota to prep for higher studies or engineering prep, etc., you don't know what are the methods they're using. Is your child being taken care of? Is he really using best of his, facilities towards the goal that is there? While today, because everything is mapped on technology, you know which teachers is teaching effectively, what is the outcome, their assessments and their maps, and you can actually monitor the progress of your child, and you can question when he's not being mentored right. So I think it is a matter of adults to change their mindset, that there's no point we use a Hindi word called bhid chal. Just because everybody is rushing to a corner, you compromise the child's health, mental health, everything towards that. And he's best taken care by his own parent. And the external help of best faculties coming into your room. What better than that? So there has to be a mind shift also somewhere in the parents.
So coming to the pedagogical aspect, which, Session sir and Poonam ma'am were talking about, like every child gets the opportunity to get introduced to the concept for the first time. Like if they are learning about loss of motion, like sir mentioned, tensile strength or force of tension, when they go through the textbook, they are actually reading certain lines. And when they're reading those lines, like a simple example is, it's written that tension force always acts away from the body. Now the child starts thinking, see, why it is always away from the body. And then the child develops curiosity when they come to the class. And when they come and sit in the class, then the teacher, then the student's mind is at the frequency of the teacher. So the child is very curious to learn and understand that concept. So making that individual learning even before they go to the classes is very, very essential to incorporate STEM. So encouraging children to go through the textbooks or reading material or animations so that they get exposure and they develop the frequency of thinking for that chapter, and they're ready to absorb it as soon as they come to the class. Now, then the teacher simply says that, or asks that, can you push an object with a string? The student will simply say, no. Can you pull it? Yes. So there is a realization for the student. So why tension force
And
always
the
acts
way
away
you
from the
say,
body?
no, penny dropped. That happens if you've pre-studied it, that question
Yeah,
is in your head, and that penny drops, right? When
exactly,
the teacher is
exactly.
telling you.
So
So if you
pedagogy plays
don't
a very
pre,
important role.
yeah, if you
And
don't
if it is
pre,
blended with technology, it
yeah.
can work wonders. So many times it so happens, it's not the teachers don't know these aspects, but teachers are also, even it happens with any teacher. When I used to teach also, probably I couldn't recollect the best example I could have used to introduce a particular concept. So, you know, that's what we try to do. So whenever my team is working on any particular piece of content, so we brainstorm on thinking about what is the best pedagogy, what is the best example, the topmost example that we can quote, so that it brings a realization, not just passing information to the student, but it
Yeah.
brings realization such that it remains in their head for lifelong. So I think that's one of the core aspect of STEM, to enable students to become lifelong learners, to
Learners.
adapt the changes that are happening in the world. And as soon as they come into a new situation, their thinking capabilities and their learning capabilities are intact to adapt the changes happening in the world. So, I mean, Apurva was asking this question to Sunita ma'am. So can you repeat that question?
So
Thank you,
yes,
sir. Very well answered. Yes.
ma'am,
Please, you
please
can
share
repeat the
your views.
question. Yes.
Yes, so ma'am, I was saying that as the teachers, as a school, we are trying to do a lot from the early age, right? But as home, when the student goes back home, there is a mind shift which happens with the parents,
Hmm.
that no, stick to the curriculum which has been given in the books. So I give you one small example, ma'am. I was those kind of kids who loves kinesthetic learners, what we talk about. I used to love opening everything and then sit. I don't know how to put it back. And my mother used to run after me that, okay, you have spoiled one more thing, now what do I do? So now I want to understand from you, ma'am, how parents can contribute towards the STEM learning, or how we can inculcate from the early stages at home once they go back. Because school we are providing, we are giving those feeds, we are making them thinking critical wise, we are making them think outside the box. So what are your views on that, ma'am?
Ma'am, so I think Sir and Poonam ma'am, both of them, they gave a combination of answer. But yes, parents can play a big role. At least they can collaborate with the school, and they can be at the same page with the school, right? If we are doing activities, we are planning experiments, if we have to teach something, maybe for example, Christmas, sharing and caring, we are teaching them, we are taking them to the orphanages, we are taking them on a visit to church, just to give them real life experiences, because teaching and learning is not only happening in school. There is a learning ecology. They are learning at home also, they are learning with family also, they are learning with the relatives also. When they're going out, they pick up, they observe. So observation is the key to the STEM learning, I would say. So we have to give them experiences. Basically, experiential learning is very important right from the early years. And I think parents should be open-minded. Mindset change is very important. Reading is very important. Even the bedtime stories are very important. The parents should read bedtime stories to their children, because whatever stories, agar aap dekhein, the Panchtantra stories, they all talk about a family, a happy start, then a problem comes, then the problem solution, how we find the solution to that problem, and then happily ever after. So these are very basics of all stories, Panchtantra stories. We get this moral lesson. We can, thirsty crow story, we can take that example. So what I mean, that we should create problem solvers rather than, always criticizing and cribbing about the system, what this school is doing, what that school is doing, because every school is doing its best. We
Basically, what
So,
Sunita
shall I,
ma'am is saying, yeah, session,
shall
sir.
I,
Please, sir.
shall I intervene?
Yes,
Yes,
sir,
sir.
please.
Whatever so far we have heard, it will be very nice. Those parents, they can also create certain things, or teach, or do, or create certain curiosity among the students. This will be done, provided the parents are educated, and rather than, even those parents who are educated, they should have enough time to spend with the children. So What if the parents who are educated don't have time to spend with the children? What if those parents uh, are not educated? Then they cannot say or create such type of curiosity. So in that case, it is the teachers we have to go and walk an extra mile. It is ultimately the parents, the parents who are not educated, they are giving the students to the school in the understanding that the teachers will do everything, and we have to walk an extra mile. And in reaching such students, we are teaching the students in the school, and we should tell the parents, we should impress upon the parents that you need not have to teach in the inside your house, but just monitor the learning session. When the learning session takes place, or when the child sits for learning, studying, then you just monitor. Be just a outsider, monitor whether he is studying or not, or he is just cheating, or he is keeping some other book inside and studying or not. So just ask the parents. We as teachers have to impress upon the parents to monitor the studies of the children, and tell the parents. We can give the help the parents if they are not in a position to monitor, how they can monitor, in what way they can have a timetable for the children. Because the uneducated, the parents who are educated but in a very high position don't have time. The uneducated, they cannot do anything. So for such parents, we can help out, we can reach out by walking an extra mile, and then give out a timetable for the students, and when he can study, and ask them to cooperate with us in the interest of their child, and give a timetable for them. And we can also tell them how to monitor, and we can, in a like a mentor, we can do this mentoring every week or every 15 days. We can call the parent, we can see the students whether there is a performance, it is going at a higher level, or at least not going down. We can just have a kind of a conversation with the parents, and then we can also monitor their, learning inside their house also. I think that is the better
Sir,
way of doing it.
sir, that's why, technology tools really help you. For example, your child is studying, for example, the concept on an app. A parent usually gets a tracker whether he studied it or not. And then there is
Yes,
a self test. And what is the outcome of the self test? And the teachers also get the same report as the parent gets. So both parent and teachers become collaborators, saying,
yes, yes,
okay,
Correct.
I've
Okay.
seen that he's not doing too well in maths. So let's
yes,
have a special class for him or something like that. Otherwise, all of us are working for the child, but we work in silos.
Right.
We don't,
yes. That
we
is
are
that is
not on
how
the
you
same
utilize the technology to the benefit of us
page.
and benefit of the child.
And
Yes,
second thing, sir, for example, you have PTA meetings, okay? There are 40 parents in a line. You take out the report card, you say good boy, very bad, and you send them off. But imagine that you have this report that you have, which you have shared with the parent, right? And you could have on a Friday a kind of a PTA which is one-on-one online, wherein the report card comes out, and then you as parents talk with the child and give the privacy and attention, same time taken. The time is same, but it is better utilized, and it has a follow up also, because you have the back report. Next month when you talk, there is a reference point. Otherwise, all of us are doing so much work, but we all are doing in a vacuum. It
Yes,
does
yes.
not have a cumulative outcome.
I would like to
Very
pick up
good.
a point on
Very
a
good
reference
idea, madam.
point.
Very good idea. Technology as enhancer. Good.
Yeah,
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I mean, I would like to pick the point of reference point, which Poonam ma'am just quoted. So the reference point will become common between parent, student, and the teachers. Many times we come across parents who tell that, we don't know that this is the direction in which the syllabus is moving, or this is the kind of support we would have given. Often they realize after the time is lost.
yeah,
But having this ecosystem in place where the reference point for parents, students, and the teachers is common. If that ecosystem is built, then parents will have, even the students will know that this is what our path is going to be. This is how we are going to be assessed upon. These are the milestones that I need to clear. And there are higher chances of them achieving things better. And also parents will have this in their mind that now these are the things that are going to come in the next 1 month, the next 1 week, and so on, and they will be able to facilitate the students, and eventually things will pan out better. So I just want to add one more point on the role that parents should play is positive reinforcement. So a lot of times parents put peer pressure.
yeah.
Parents will compare their children with other children, and they put that kind of pressure. I think that is something that parents can stop doing and put positive reinforcement, believing in their child, so that the child will start putting self-belief on themselves that I can do it. And when this totally works in a very, very different, on a different level, where when the child starts believing in themselves, they will start working more harder, and it will become a natural evolution for them rather than from an external force.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the positive reinforcement is something that parents can do only if they are having a reference point and they know what are the milestones, and they are in tandemly working with the teachers and the students. So that ecosystem is something that will really help.
And then, sir, imagine if this was your PTA, what we are doing right now, and a child is listening to parent and teacher talking about the progress. In some time, by the third PTA, he'll become a collaborator in his own success.
Yeah,
He will
Yes.
not take his adults as people who are against him.
exactly, exactly.
Yes.
So I think people with your kind of vision and how your student just spoke about the kind of school you are, this could be a very active experiment to go. And that how it works, how we optimizes on time and outcome is something we should look at. Because, after all, you're in atomic energy school.
Yes, yes,
That is the
definitely.
ultimate point of science and technology. You
Yeah,
should become the lighthouse of this change, because otherwise these become conversations only.
yeah.
But
Correct, correct.
these
Yes,
should be
definitely.
action
We
items.
should work on that.
Hmm, hmm,
Yes,
hmm.
we should work on that. Definitely.
Session, sir, I was coming to you about this since we were talking about how we are doing all this and how we have to include. So, how do you view the role of infrastructure and resources when we are conducing STEM learning environment? Or what are the improvements or what are the changes we're supposed to do in the existing pattern which we are following right now in schools?
Yes. Yes, madam. Infrastructure is definitely very, very important. In the sense, each and every child should have a very proper, stable infrastructure such that, it is not affected by rains or floods. See, just because of floods, you can see in Chennai there are hundreds of schools which are affected
Hmm.
because it are simply the schools are drenched in water. It is almost floating. So the infrastructure is very, very important, particularly for the schools, particularly for the students. But then, what kind of infrastructure? The infrastructure we should spend, where we have to spend. We have to spend for uh, equipments, equipments which can explain scientific mathematics principles in a better way. So we should equip our labs. We should
Hmm.
have the state of the art laboratories. It doesn't mean laboratory doesn't mean only science and maths. You
Hmm.
also have a language lab. Okay. So language lab also can be set up in the school. So you have a science lab, you have a maths lab, you can have a language lab. When you have language lab, then even teaching of English and Hindi, children can be taken and their pronunciation, phonetics can be learnt. So we have to spend on items such that we are able to set up state of the art laboratories, and then we are able to teach. We should have the electronic equipments to teach, like not just the desktop. We should have VHP, right? Overhead projector. We should have the so you can project whatever that is
LED
coming on the
panels, the
desktop,
smart
that can
TVs in
be
the classes.
projected and it can be shown to all the children. Say for example, say sometimes what happen, very very simple thing that is coming in a TV,
True,
very good film, which may be
true.
a good it may be a very good film, it may be of a scientific film, it may include or some other about Gandhi or somebody thing. Then you can have a large number of gathering by focusing on a big screen. So this kind of a setup we should have in a in a school. So for all this, infrastructure is very important. And once infrastructure is, you have a stable infrastructure which is not affected by your storm or other kinds of heavy rains or other kinds of natural calamities, then we should spend on items which are capable of explaining to the students in the way of a laboratory, in the way of in the scientific principles, mathematics principles, or setting up of a language lab, like that. And we should also spend in bringing out the guest speakers from scientific institutions. Say, for example, we have CSIR. From
True.
CSIR, you can ask a scientist to come and give a lecture. He will be every day, he is seeing the science practically. So he will be teaching the science in a much better way. So there may be very hard concepts.
True.
So you can bring about some very experienced teacher in a particular subject. Say for example, you have a English, so English expert, you can call one English expert from outside, give a lecture to the students. So we should invest, rather not expend, we should invest on the uh, we should invest on such items like setting up a lab, then bringing out guest lectures, then taking the students to such institutions like like CSIR madam or CSIR, one of the scientists can come here.
True.
Your school, they can, instead of a excursion, as a kind of a educational trip, you can take the children to a lab, a close by lab, maybe a BRC lab or atomic energy nuclear lab, or any other close by lab scientific institutions where the labs are. You can show them and how exactly is going on. Say for example, simple things like you are getting oven. Every day we are drinking coffee, but how this oven comes in
True.
packets. Take the children to the oven and
Yes.
how it is getting packed, you show them, then they will understand. This is how the you know the what the
The
milk,
entire process
milk
works
is
throughout going through.
milk
Yes.
is putting into packets and it is coming out.
Yeah.
So
Right.
all
So
these things
experiential learning
like
in summary,
educational
True.
like
trips and
True.
all these things, we should invest on these things so that it is always helpful to the children, and it will be a learning exercise for the children. It will not be a waste in that way.
Absolutely, sir. Very rightly mentioned that the more they see in front of them, that also makes them question that, oh, I never thought about this could also be a possibility. That I never, my brain didn't even went through that understanding of that concepts. Which also pose this question to Sunita ma'am over
See, in the
here.
same way, say as the one of the proverb goes,
Yes, sir.
I hear, I forget, I see, I remember, I do,
True,
I understand.
true,
That is
true,
the thing.
true. So with the more I see relatable, the more I am able to retain it for the longer period of time. Like I'll give you one
Yes.
example, sir. My teacher taught me friction not by just explaining it on board. He asked one of the student to come and walk in the class and then told that, okay, how are you able to stand? How are you walking? So he made us understand that what you're doing, it's all around you. I am not talking something superficial. It's all around you and you're able to do it. It's just that you have to push a little beyond to think of how it's all working out for you all.
Yes.
So, very rightly said, sir. Another point which I believe is very crucial to discuss over here is we are talking about STEM and how it's changing the mindset of the student along with the parents. How are we getting ready for the future careers or the competitiveness which we have? So, right now, the competitiveness, either engineering or any other field, is just not limited, it's wide. We are going beyond the world to discuss and to prove ourselves that I am there. So, Sunita ma'am, do you have any pointers or suggestions to share that how we can prepare students for future career options and competitiveness, which is beyond global level?
Ma'am, like 21st century skills we have been talking. So
Yes.
all the skills are very important. So we need to plan our curriculum and pedagogies and things in such a way that each activity, each pedagogy inculcates the 21st century skills amongst the learners, be it creativity, critical thinking. So they should be able to analyze things critically. Plus, they should have their own vision. They should not hesitate in taking the road not taken. So the career choices which are not very common, they should be brave enough to opt for those career choices, prepare themselves, have courage, and be planned and do a proper planning, be committed, be disciplined. Creativity is very important according to me. Communication is equally important because there is no point if as an engineer is not able to express and communicate his ideas across others. So communication is very important. Collaboration is very important because an individual in himself or herself is very good. But the problem starts coming when we start working in a team. So that we have to start from very, very early years only. We should give them more and more team projects, team activities, team building exercises. A lot of like team, we should teach them how to work. So they can be, in team, we can have divisions. There can be a person who is taking care of logistics. There
True.
can be a person who is expressing, who is presenting the things. There can be a person who is doing research work. So that ways we do here in JD Goenka. We allocate the roles and they come, the project, the presenter project, they come together as a team. Creativity is very important, ma'am. If you see the COVID times, those people lost their jobs, but those who were creative, they really did well. It create a chef, one who cooks a very simple meal, simple dish. Nobody will like that, but you make it very creative, make it very presentable. We all, start appreciating that, and so creativity is very important, and it can be effective and used in any field and every field. So
Absolutely.
we can have these things by planning the activities, the teaching pedagogies, which emphasize on the inculcation of 21st century skills.
Very
See,
rightly mentioned, ma'am. That yeah, please, sir.
in this advanced 21st century,
Mm-hmm.
most of the jobs in future is going to be, it requires basic knowledge of computers,
Hmm.
and it requires, say, 80% of the job in future requires STEM learning.
Yes.
So when such is the case, and moreover, while you are doing this STEM education, the STEM is teaching you creativity, it is teaching you problem solving, it is teaching you the computation, it is
Hmm.
teaching you interpersonal skills. So
Hmm.
when it is teaching you interpersonal skills, creativity, problem solving, all these things, these are the skills which are being taught, and that I have to apply when I am seeing in my life, I am seeing some crisis, those things I am going to apply. So that way, STEM education definitely helps in future career, or in future what you are going to face, how you are going to face. Definitely it will, because whatever you have learned at the backside, it will be there here, and it will come out when you are facing the crisis. All those things, you know, will be coming out, and it will help you face those crises.
So as Venkat sir mentioned the four C's, right? And as Session sir also was highlighting about those four C's, these are your, as they say, necessity is the mother of invention, right? So I believe these four C's for coming future are going to be the necessity.
And I
Where,
think it
where,
is
which,
improving also. So,
yes.
there is a report, India Skills report, which
Mm-hmm.
publishes employability report year on year. So, like 2 years back, it was in 2021, they published the report stating that 45.9% of the graduates are employable,
Yeah.
and clearly it was attributed to the fact that due to lack of STEM based education, the employability of these children, although they are finishing graduation, so they are not employable. But fortunately this year has seen the highest jump, where 2023 report has published 50.03% of the, so from 45.9 to 50.3 in 2 years span. This is the biggest jump which happened in the recent, if you see the last 2 decades. The employability is going up by a significant percent year on year. I think even the schools and the youth are also adapting
Hmm.
more and more technology into their learning. And I think that's very much apparent post COVID, into how much they're adapting. And Seshan sir sometime back, he was mentioning about any natural calamity or any sort of pandemic, cyclone, or anything cannot stop your learning. So
True.
learning should be continued always, and having that kind of infrastructure, having that focus from all the stakeholders, from the school management, parents, students, everyone, will surely improve the total employability within the youth of our country. So I think STEM is therefore getting more and more importance, and I think we are progressing.
And that's a positive sign, so that we are approaching towards that slowly and steadily itself, but we are moving towards the direction itself.
Right.
So, thank you for everyone for sharing your ideas. It's now time to hear from our audience. I see a lot of participants have raised their hands. I will request that please post your questions in the chat. We will try to best address those particular questions. Now, before I take the questions from the audience, this is the last part. So, in one line, panelists, what is your one piece of advice for all the educators who are listening to us or who are part of this particular session? How to implement STEM in their respective schools? We'll start with Poonam ma'am first.
But first step would be to allow the child to be an independent learner. Also, encourage collaboration with the parent towards the whole nurturing of the child to his success. And I'm using the word nurturing. Ultimately, you should be able to identify his potential and build it.
Hmm.
And that is only possible when parent and school collaborate effectively. So
Hmm.
leverage technology to be able to do that. So one, allow your child to be an independent learner. B, collaborate with the school transparently towards the progress of the child. And today, the best can be accessed at home. Open your mind to that. Okay. So this is not one line answer. These are got 3 points.
Yes,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we'll move to
Yes.
Sunita ma'am. Yeah, please, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Yes. See, the question is about how you are going to
Implement. Yes,
see
sir.
implement. See, the best way to implement in each and every school STEM based education is follow the NCRT book in its letter and spirit, and do the activities. So it is a kind of a activity based education, activity-based learning. Children will slowly learn that that will be a very, very great idea. See, even if you do 50% of what is told in the NCRT book, 50% of that activity,
Yeah.
it will be a real great wonder. And children will be very curious to learn maths, science, and language. I think to start with, we have to do the activities of what NCRT has suggested. It has suggested beautiful activities. It doesn't, whatever NCRT suggested, it doesn't require great state of the art laboratory. It is from simple resources that are already there with every school, every house. So start with that. That is the first step.
So NCRT to be followed religiously by heart. All the activities are already there. Great. Thank you, sir. We'll move to Sunita ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, you are audible, ma'am. So,
Yeah. So, ma'am, what are the what one piece of advice would you like to give to all the schools who are implementing STEM in their respective schools?
I would definitely agree with Session, sir. Like, yes, NCRTs are very good because mostly I have seen teachers skip the activity part. The activity part of NCRTs are very interesting. NCRT exemplars, if you want to challenge your students, use NCRT exemplar based questions. They are very good. All the subjects have NCRT exemplars. I would give one piece of advice: whatever you are doing, do with lot of heart and soul. Work very hard, do it honestly. Do not just do it superficially or just to please anybody. Do it thoroughly. Okay, so that is very important. Do your work with commitment, discipline, honesty. You will excel, whatever you choose. So that is very simple piece of advice. Research is very important, ma'am. Reading is very important. We get ideas from reading. We should read a lot. Reading is very, very important. So these things will definitely help in STEM as well as other aspects of education, not only STEM. Because what is happening all across, we should know if conference of parties is happening in Dubai and they are discussing on the, cutting down of fossil fuels and carbon emissions. So what all measures they are suggesting, unless you read it, you don't know it. So you should read what is happening, which all species have become extinct. 46% of forest land has been cleared. So I think when you start reading this, you start finding the problems, then solutions come. And that is STEM. STEM is not only that you have to become an engineer, STEM is you have to be a problem solver. You have to think for solutions. So for solutions, critical analysis is very important. Correct information is very important. These all comes from reading and discussing things. I believe that is very important. Yes, thank you.
Very rightly mentioned, ma'am. Thank you very much for your point. We'll move to Venkat, sir.
Yeah, my short answer for this question would be that we need to provide the environment to the children at school such that we are able to continuously, working toward their skill development. Like when we talk about experiential learning or activity-based learning or social emotional learning, most of the times these are carried out as certain events or certain doing them for the sake of doing. So I think the like Session said some time back, he was telling doing it in the spirit of seeing the change is important. To enable that, the school management and the teacher should encourage students to have a natural progression and continuously measure it, not just do one activity and after some time regularly repeat that, but continuous assessment of how they're building the skill is important. So empowering the school to implement these is very important. Otherwise everything will remain very theoretical.
Thank you, sir. So we have got one question. I like to pose it to Poona ma'am over here. So one question we have got from the audience, which mentioned, what is the best assessment method for STEM-based learning? I repeat, ma'am. What is the
Assessment
yes
method, assessment
for
tool.
yes?
See what happens. What is the assessment?
Hmm.
Assessment is that what do you want somebody to know? And then you start measuring from the outcome you want to
Outcome.
go towards.
Yes.
Suppose your outcome is to develop critical thinking. So
Yes.
you may have case study based on what you see, that how this person is critically looking at the situation and coming with the outcome. Depending what outcomes you're working on, you design your assessment accordingly. When it comes to STEM-based learning, it, to me, and I have experts on the panel, but my understanding of STEM-based learning is that you should have deep conceptual knowledge, and based on that, you have to build the pathways to progressively go toward the solution. Knowing the concept is not enough. That concept's application to a solution of the human problem is most important part of the STEM education. So otherwise, our education system is such that we give only 25% of what we have to give. We limit ourselves to conceptual learning. We keep reiterating the conceptual learning, but we never teach the child the application pathway. Again, there is no single route to application, but you create mental pathways to I call it hierarchy of learning. Learn chronologically or you learn logically. So my point is, we have to have a test that develops logical thinking to solving a problem. So what we train our children towards is, this is a concept. Its ultimate goal is to know it by heart. We have to change the post. Your ultimate goal is, what problem are you going to solve? So therefore, your assessment would depend on first checking, perhaps in a summative fashion, you should be able to check the concept. Then you should take it to the formative type of test and start looking at how he can solve a particular problem. And that's how your assessment should be.
Wonderful, ma'am. Thank you very much. Seshu sir, would you like to add something to the same question?
Yes, madam. Whatever madam said is really wonderful. But what I just wanted to add is, rather than we may have to, in the case of STEM-based education, we may have to shift from summative to formative assessments. That will make that will be a more real way of assessing the child. So the formative assessment means constantly you are assessing and then you are improving. So rather than a summative assessment, we have to shift to formative assessments
Yeah,
for
that
STEM-based
becomes your
education.
75% of your assessment becomes that. And
Ma'am, you were on mute. We couldn't hear the
oh,
last
that's
5 seconds.
okay. I'm seconding what sir is saying, because there is another thing, sir, that I realized, though internationally, that is how their approach to pedagogy is like that. They're more application driven and they take the child to the concept. But a lot of times they also falter on the fact that there's sometimes the conceptual understanding is not very deep. And they do miss on those facts. While our children, the students who study in India, the conceptual understanding is there, but they don't know how to apply it because they're not challenged to apply it. So I think anchoring everything to and going back again and again to the base of 25% of their learning on the concept will allow them to have guru mantras to apply when we have a new problem. I hope you understand. Today, one concept is fulfilling a problem, but that scientific concept remains with you. But because you keep using it as a reference point of coming back again and again, you know how to pick that up and place it in another situation.
So keeping the same point and using it at different
No, I know.
problems.
See, right now, 75% of all our assessment is based on submitting submissive tests
True.
towards understanding the concept.
Concepts.
Learning it by rote almost.
Yeah.
And you're testing their memory. But
True.
when you reduce that to 25%, all your formative learning should be anchored to that concept. For the concept to become your life, something that you can use ahead. Otherwise, the child might end up saying, this situation wasn't there.
Yeah.
I had this problem, but I don't know why or how I solved
How do
it.
I put that into
Unless
use?
it anchors back to the concept.
Same problem and the
in
same
fact,
concepts.
in fact, the students who have developed this habit early are the students who are even able to crack the competitive exams also. When they
Yeah.
go to class 12 or beyond, whether it is like, CSEPT or JEE, NEET, or even beyond civil services or any exams after graduation, students who are developing these continuous assessment based learning, I mean, making it a habit for themselves of get assessed, not fearing about the exams, and naturally subjecting themselves to problem solving, are the one who feel very less stress when they go to higher and they
Because
crack the
they
exams.
just know that I have got these 20, 30 concepts which I can place and solve the problem. So that's why again and again I'm reiterating this point, which somewhere everybody should know. It's creating pathways in your mind to think. Ultimately, what STEM does for you.
So one has to be consistent. That is a more key word.
Yeah,
You have to be
continuous.
consistent, continuously learning.
Yeah.
That
That lifelong
consistency.
learning,
Yeah.
a lifelong learning word becomes a reality. Because that is how you are. Moment you reach a submit, you say, okay, why? And then you climb another submit, and then you climb. So that becomes your way of your attitude to knowledge.
That's
And
how you see things at the end of the day. That's
yeah,
your second nature itself, that you see it with that idea.
Otherwise, what is the conversation? I finished my 12th, my education is over. That's how we do.
Yes.
So now we can get on with life, but not knowing their biggest school has started now.
True.
So that's where we have to prep a child towards. So one last point, this can be in one line. We have to begin STEM very early.
Yes.
We have to shift
Totally agreed.
it. Because a child in class 5 is so malleable for you to actually help him become like that. We begin by the time he's formed his way of thinking.
Absolutely.
That's one thing.
So thank you very much for all the wonderful insights I have got from all four of you. There are some small takeaways I like to add from my side. So first and foremost, strategies for seamlessly integrating STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, or mathematics into the school curriculum slash NCRT has already started doing small steps, and they're using that as well in schools. Sir also mentioned about success stories and best practices in implementing interactive STEM projects within school. Could also be guest lecture, could also be a field visit that I am taking my students to make them question why and how. Models for professional development that encourages the teachers also to stay updated on the advancement which is happening in the industry. Role of infrastructure and resources in fostering a conducive STEM learning environment. Now, importance of also how parents can support in STEM learning at home and the extracurricular activities what we are providing. As very rightly mentioned by all of you, role of formative and summative assessments in evaluating the success of STEM ecosystem within schools play a very crucial role. How the jobs, the changing market that we have, how we have to equip the students with the right skill sets and the relevant skill sets which are necessary in 21st century. Now, the key performance indicator, of course, of the success that we are using within the schools. So thank you to all the panelists and to all the dear participants for all your active engagement and commitment to the future of education. I am sure we have answered your question throughout this conversation. In case we are not able to answer, we will get back to you through the updates to provide you with that. Now, as Winston Churchill said, success is not final, failure is not fatal. It's the courage that continue that counts every day. So let's continue this courageous journey together. A heartfelt thank to our speakers, to all the participants for their contribution throughout, kept this conversation engaging. I will request for all the panelists to stay here and pose for a quick picture.
Sunita can also join us by switching on the camera.
Ma'am, there is some problem. I don't know. I have been trying.
We could see you
Acha.
initially.
Yeah, initially because I joined through my
Yes.
phone and then I joined through the laptop and
No,
the
no, it's
problem
okay. I
started.
just
No, actually there is some power failure also here, so some issues are there. So that is why. Otherwise, maybe for short time I can join through phone or I don't know.
Well,
I'll send my
that's
picture,
okay,
ma'am.
that's all right. Don't fret.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you, panelists, for a beautiful picture. A quick announcement for all the participants and the panelists who have joined us, who are listening to us. Extramarks consistently advocates for the integration of STEM education into school curriculum. We have actively assisted schools in establishing a robust STEM ecosystem in their campuses, leading to the introduction of the school integrated program. School Integrated Program is a holistic in-school coaching initiative designed for students preparing for competitive exams like JEE and NEET. This program transforms your school into a one-stop destination, providing students the convenience of preparing for exams within the school premises. Now, saying goodbye to the hassle of balancing school studies and test preparation, SIP ensures schools, students saving time while excelling academically. We will have a quick video by our team of SIP onto the screens now.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, JEE is hard. There's a lot of competition.
Guys, हम तो एग्जाम्स में पीछे छूट जाएंगे.
How do we prep?
मैं तो सोच रही हूँ डमी स्कूल ज्वाइन कर लूँ और कोचिंग भी. वहाँ एक्सपर्ट टीचर्स भी है.
गुड मॉर्निंग सर.
Good morning. Go to class. Go.
सर, चाय.
हाँ शर्मा जी, हाँ जेई नीट की तैयारी भी इम्पोर्टेंट है, आई नो.
JEE is hard.
हम तो एग्जाम्स में पीछे छूट जाएंगे.
There's a lot of competition. मैं तो सोच रही हूँ डमी स्कूल ज्वाइन कर लूँ और कोचिंग भी. वहाँ एक्सपर्ट टीचर्स भी है.
Students want to prepare for JEE NEET exams and you don't know what to do. लाएं एक्स्ट्रा मार्क्स स्कूल इंटीग्रेटेड प्रोग्राम अपने स्कूल में, जिसमें पढ़ाई टॉप फैकल्टी आपके स्कूल क्लासरूम में और करे सारे डाउट्स इंस्टेंटली क्लियर. साथ ही साथ जिससे मिले अनलिमिटेड प्रैक्टिस रिसोर्सेज पक्की तैयारी के लिए और डिटेल्ड रिपोर्ट्स जो आइडेंटिफाई करे स्टूडेंट्स के स्ट्रॉन्ग और वीक एरियाज. जब स्टूडेंट्स को मिले कोटा वाली पढ़ाई आपके स्कूल में, तो किस बात की टेंशन
जब हो आपके स्कूल से सिलेक्शन.
Thank you, team, for playing this wonderful video for us. Now, don't forget to all the panelists, to all the participants who are here joining us from different schools, different parts of India, don't forget to register your school for India's biggest STEM competition being conducted between 20th November to 15th of January. Please For all the classes from 7 to 11 to know more about STEM competition being currently running, kindly visit www.extramarks.com/scholarship. Lot of wonderful opportunities are waiting at this particular STEM competition. Now, coming back to our webinar, I will humbly request and very grateful for all of you for giving your wonderful time to share your ideas, to share your insights. To all the participants, thank you for being here, motivating us, guiding us. Please do share your feedback with us for the session. All the attendees who have participated, I could see the number near about 250 plus. All the attendees who participated with us will receive a certificate of participation from our side. To all the questions being asked, if we were not able to answer those questions, we will get back to you via email. Stay tuned onto our website, which is www.extramarks.com/EM-Elevate for the recording of this webinar and details of our upcoming session. So it was great meeting all of the panelists. Thank you very much for sharing your ideas, and to all the wonderful participants for being over there. Thank you very much and have a great day ahead.
Thanks, Apurva. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank you,
you so
ma'am.
much.
Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone.